So Pranam Swamiji, it's great to have this opportunity again to be talking to you. Actually, thanks Jay Garu. I think Suresh Babu Garu didn't come, and I'm a stand-in for this particular session. So it's a last-minute thing, and if anything goes awry, my apologies. But sitting there in the audience and just listening to everything about the GCCs and the asks that we have, of the state was amazing. I've been one of those that set up a GCC from scratch, and I totally understand the sort of issues that we have. But the magnitude of GCCs that we have in India today, I think, is amazing. 1,600 plus GCCs, huge tech hubs that we've created, tech and innovation hubs that we've created. And personally, I don't believe we're anymore a low-cost, center or this center for labor arbitrage that somebody comes here. I do believe the best brains are here in this part of the world, and that's the reason the world is searching for us. And we have about 50% of the global GCCs in India. So that's a huge thing for us, and I think we should applaud ourselves, for what we've achieved. I think 2 million jobs that are provided for skilled workforce in this particular ecosystem, about $28 plus billion of revenue that the GCCs bring into the state. And I think there's a huge roadmap for the growth of GCCs, close to about $100 plus billion by 2030. I think that's the sort of place that we see the GCCs getting to. And almost every sector, it's just not the big tech sectors, but I think every sector that we have and are playing a part. I'm looking forward to this next 1 hour where we have this conversation with you, Swamiji, about various things, of course. So the way we'll structure this is the first 45 minutes is primarily the fireside chat, and the last 15 minutes is something I'll open up, for the audience to ask any questions that you have. But before we start, I'd like to go through a couple of icebreaker questions for you. We have a lot of tech guys in the room. So what does technology and innovation mean to you?
Having come to the city of technology, in the very heart of the technology, I think I'm anyway obliged to say that technology means a lot, but not merely words. I will give you simple examples of how technology is changing the lives of rural people, how it is transforming the lives of the last and the least, the have-nots, as we say, and how an organization like ours, which is primarily a charity, is utilizing the technologies created by the people in this room and beyond to uplift and transform the lives of millions of people. One example I'll give you is we run educational centers. Now, education and technology cannot be separated anymore. If you're not computer literate, you're not literate at all in this world today. Post-COVID, as you might have seen, that there was a disruption in educational system where physical contact was not permitted. And that was the time when education had to reach to the masses. We couldn't have left our students or our children in the villages in a lurch. But to reach out to them, the only option was technology. And we used the technology to the best of our capacities, whether it was online tutorials, videos on YouTube and such channels free of charge, even providing them with simple smartphones, which have become quite cheap now compared to the times, earlier times, and internet, which is the cheapest in the world. I think these are so many good things that have happened to India that helped us keep our schools virtually running and not leave the children high and dry. At least when they came back, they were not like many of the schools elsewhere, especially public government schools, have suffered a lot. So they were still kind of at par with whatever being taught, except a few. So technology is a game changer. It has helped charities do their jobs better. We have hospitals. It runs completely on technology, whether it was hospital management systems, whether it is just the communication systems. Now with artificial intelligence and robotics, healthcare is getting transformed. So everything that we use in our system is anyway technology. And if we are, if somebody turns a blind eye to technology, the person will become irrelevant in today's society. So I have an appeal to the technologists here that please bring more rural technologies, because bigger part of the world lives out there in the rural and small towns all around the world, and technologies that are affordable, accessible, and available to the rural masses would be truly the game changer for the future.
That's so well said. Absolutely. You've talked artificial intelligence, and that's one problem that all of us grapple with, and especially with the advances that are being made in that particular area. So, what do you think about artificial intelligence versus, skilled workforce? Because there's this whole myth around in the industry that people are going to lose jobs.
I think it is the same myth when, well, let us say the scribes were replaced by the people who could type, and the people who could type were replaced now by people who can speak. So every age has seen a different change in the way we do things. And now the time is the time of artificial intelligence, and there is no two way about it. You have to learn to live with it, and better to make peace with whatever comes alongside artificial intelligence. But I think it's a great boon because it solves so many problems so fast. And one example I'll give you is, I believe in MIT they were looking for a solution for this hospital bug. It's a very common bug, and you cannot just you have so many antibiotics, so much of technology or whatever you call it, healthcare thing, but you still don't have a solution to this one particular hospital bug. It's some kind of a virus. To find its antidote, you have to go through strains of whatever antibacterial things, and there were 6,000 of them which were chosen. 6,000 strains which have to be, each one has to be tested. And I believe that they just use a model, an AI model, to figure out which would be the best among the 6,000, and then they zero it down to some, maybe a few hundreds. And from there further, they only tested those many and found a solution to this one particular hospital bug, which had not been found till date otherwise, because 6,000 strains cannot be tested. The cost of it, the volume of it, the cumbersome whatever process doesn't allow you, but technology allowed it. So I think artificial intelligence has to be embraced in every field. You can't run away. The downside of it is that, yes, would we lose a lot of skilled workforce? I think run of the mill workforce will have to get more skill. That's what you have to upskill yourself. So technology will support us, but human brain or human intelligence, what I call it as artificial technology, can never be replaced. You see, it has to be promoted, and I think the human touch. We might have technology in healthcare also, but without the human touch of the nurses and the doctors, the technology means nothing. So I think we can never lose sight of the human importance of human beings. The only solution to live together with the technology is that you keep upskilling yourself, you keep innovating, you become more creative, and that will also give us the time to be creative. Otherwise, we just do the run of the mill things. So I think it's a good thing if it's used correctly. But I do, because the minister is there, I must tell that some policy and regulation must come for artificial intelligence. You never know who is writing his resume using a chat GPT or now DeepSeek AI. You never know which student is doing his assignments properly, when who is not doing. And the worst part is, you won't believe, but I got a child's report card. It's from another country. So I looked at it, I said, oh, how did these teachers find time to write such detailed reports for a primary school child, that he is active and he participates in this and does this, does that. Oh, the English is so good and so nice. So one of my technology friends who was there, I thought, see, our schools should give report cards like this. What wonderfully written report cards. Then he said, you just wait for a minute. And then he opened his chat GPT and write a review of a primary school child. 3 qualities he mentioned: hardworking, people friendly, and resilient. Can you believe it matched sentence to sentence? And that's when I realized that that's where technology can be a danger.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I think that's so well said, because we keep talking about it in the context of financial institutions and banks, where you have technology for developing certain patterns. You have the same technology being used on the dark web to actually create anti-patterns, right? So, yeah, the last one, I mean, of this, the icebreaker questions really is Adi Shankara. Yeah. I've read a lot about what you feel and your personal regard for Adi Shankara. A couple of things. I mean, can you talk about the learnings and how that has affected you individually as you went on through this journey of social entrepreneurship?
Absolutely. I must, I'm happy that you asked about Sri Adi Shankaracharya. I'm sure most of the people in the room would know about him. If they do not know, he was a great philosopher, a man of wisdom, a realized being who interpreted and commented upon many of our Vedas and Upanishads, which are otherwise quite hard to understand. He simplified them, he explained it to the common people, and he revived Sanatana Dharma in the 9th century. And he lived for a small age of 32 years. But in that small age, he had written so much, because the first 16 years he read all the Upanishads and Vedas, which run into huge volumes. And the next 16 years he had already interpreted them and given the world a simplified version of our scriptures, which was extremely important. So this is the contribution of Adi Shankara, who revived actually Sanatan Dharma in those times when it was kind of under attack. Very many other philosophies were coming up, which were more easy for people. But Adi Shankara explains Sanatan Dharma in its truest spirit. Born in Kerala, Kaladi, but went to Madhya Pradesh, Narmada, stayed with his guru and did his work. And then he traveled around the country on foot twice and established 4 centers of learning, centers of excellence in Badrinath, up there in the Himalayas, then in Puri in Odisha, then in Dwaraka, then in Sringeri, which is in Karnataka, and we work with them too. So this is his history. Now, how he has influenced me, I think he was not merely a spiritualist, he was also a socialist. See, spirituality should find its relevance in social life. It can't be something for the retirement life, or something when you are useless to the society, you want to escape somewhere and you find this as a great escape and refuge in some philosophy of spirituality, which is sheer lethargy, or in a way escapist attitude. He talked about not only leading a life based on the spiritual principles, which simply says everything is divine. Basically, he says this table is also divine, this glass is also divine, my mic is divine, I am divine, you are divine, everything. But he explained what is this divinity. He calls it as consciousness, prajnana. Now what is this, or Brahma? Now what is this consciousness? He says that everything in this world is conscious. There is nothing called inert matter. And now you talk about string theory or unified field theory or whatever. The Nobel Prize of 2022 was given to 3 of these physicists who proved that, 2 particles, entangled photons, if you separate them by the distance of the universe, even then you can predict the spin of one of them by looking at the spin of the other. So that's how we are all connected to each other. And this has got a Nobel Prize, this theory, which was proven finally after 100 years. So with unified field theory, spin theory, now the quantum theory that is coming up, it will teach us that we are all connected somehow or the other. And if I do something, it does have an impact on somebody on the other side of the world. May not be direct, but indirectly it works. And Adi Shankara said that this is consciousness. This, he called it as a consciousness. It's an intelligent force. It's not a dead mechanical kind of an energy. It is a conscious energy. And today we are slowly getting there. Science is at the cusp of spirituality, if I may say so. And we will figure this out. And I'm very happy when the quantum science becomes more known, we will realize that these truths are actually for real, what Adi Shankara was explaining. So he's a scientist in that way, because he did the investigation and came to a proof. And second thing that really helped, also the Adi Shankara in his, one of the, a lot of things he has written, but in one of his question and answer kind of a composition, he writes Prashnottara Ratnamalika. He says Yatra Kutno Videyaha Prayatno Videyaha. Where should we work? What area we should put our efforts on? And he explains. He questions and he answers. Mm-hmm. So where should we make all the efforts? He says Vidyadane Sadaushade Vidyabhyase Sadaushade Dane, means put efforts in giving and receiving education. Put efforts in giving good quality healthcare, equitable healthcare to all, and do charity. This is the way you can build a better society. We talked about skill development, sharing the knowledge. Now, this Adi Shankara told as the tools for societal transformation. So you can imagine the spectrum of his teachings, from the highest philosophy of consciousness, which is so intangible and so subtle, to the basic social needs of those times also, that do give education to people, democratize healthcare, and do charity. Whatever is in your capacity, do for others. So these are simple principles. If we follow today, definitely the world will be a better place. So you can imagine how much he has influenced me.
Actually, that was so well said, because all these years I've been thinking of Adi Shankaracharya's teaching. There's only Advaita and the concept of Aham Brahmasmi. Really didn't think beyond, but that's so well said. Thank you for sharing that. The next couple of questions are really about, what you've built and how you've built. And sitting there in the audience and looking at that video, the magnitude of what you've built there is just so enormous. And I think you do all of this with charging no money at all from people that are using these, facilities that you've offered. So why, firstly, no money, and how are you managing it? Because we struggle all the time where we're saying even to do a little thing, it's like we need to be funded, and we need this additional budget. Otherwise, we can't do something. But here you are running an organization of that magnitude, which is completely free for everybody using it. How are you doing that?
Well, that's a trade secret.
You can share that with some of us.
I'll share you. It's a simple truth. When you have purest of the intentions to do good to others, you see, or for that matter, do anything, somehow the universe conspires to support you. This we have heard any number of times. And now, if I go back to the Adi Shankara theory of universal consciousness, if I release a pure thought in the universe saying that I want to help somebody who really needs my help, I don't have the resources, but I need to help, something happens, something goes around the world and things start moving magically. That's how we began with a very small one school project in a very remote North Karnataka district of Kalburgi. Today it has grown to university, a medical school, and nursing, paramedical. You have plenty of other school campuses across, including in Telangana and Hyderabad. In Siddipet, we have a girls' campus for tribal girls, and they learn computers. And they learn English, they learn all the other things, they're getting skills. So also we have a heart hospital right next to it. And we serve so many people nutrition in Telangana. All the school children in Telangana, 25 lakhs of them are served morning nutrition for free. And these across the world and the country. How does it happen? What is the secret? As I said, our intentions were very strong. We were very clear that education, healthcare, and nutrition cannot be commodities. Our country always stood for Dana, Vidya Dana, Arogya Dana, and Annadana. And our temples and places of importance, religious places, they always ran a gurukulam by the side of the temple. They also ran a hospital, Vaidyashalas. They also gave annam for free. And like you go back again, technologies, if you go back to Steve Jobs, as Steve Jobs did mention that because he had a bad or a difficult childhood, but he used to get his only good meal every week, and when he would walk, 20, 30 kilometers to the Hare Krishna temple. That's where he would have a full meal. Otherwise, he was just surviving on tidbits. So our temple culture was like that. And that's why India was Sone ki Chiriya. We were the most prosperous country, contributing to the world GDP. But the moment we commoditized everything, there was a downfall. Because now we started calculating whether if I give food to this person, what will I get out of it?
Right.
If I give help to this person, what is in it for me? The moment we made commerce out of human relationships, the entire society started declining or came to this present state. So there is a law beyond the law of commerce in the universe, and this is the law of love. When you love and you intend to do things out of that pure love without any conditions or selfishness, there is a mechanism at work in the universe which supports you. And the biggest proof is us. If you can call us a startup, we are only 12 years old. We started in 2012, 11 end actually, so 2012. And minus 2 years of COVID, if you may, then we are only 10 years old. And what did we achieve? We built the largest foundation in the country, which, just to give the figures, because you'll appreciate that, we spent close to 400 crores on OPEX alone. OPEX alone, giving education, health, nutrition across the country. And the CAPEX has run into thousands now of crores. How did it all happen with nothing in our hand? It's because good people started coming and joining us. They said, I always wanted to do good, but I didn't have the courage nor the capacity. Here is a foundation. I can join hands and I can do my bit. And then all drops started, coming together. It became an ocean. So that is how goodness spreads. Now, what can corporates do? Can they run it like this? I'm not sure of it, because by the very definition, you are supposed to make profits. But at what cost? You must ask yourself. Profit at what cost? Not at the cost of principles, not at the cost of people, and not at the cost of planet. If you keep that in mind, I'm sure your company will do much more than what it is trying to do right now if you keep those values in place.
But this is an amazing story, really. And I think it's a huge lesson in leadership for all of us sitting in this room, right? But what's that one, key lesson in leadership, or the key takeaway for leaders like us that you would, talk about through this journey of yours? Because, we've always heard, about how when we go through our hiring process, right? They say a type A hires a type A and a type B hires a type B, and the moment you start getting more C's into the organization, the quality drops. And that's when productivities of organizations drop and the organization is no longer at the level at which it should be. But how have you done this? There's one person's motivation, which is yours. But how did you go about building that entire structure around you to actually achieve that objective?
Yeah. I think you said it in your own question. You said the answer. You get the right kind of people to your organization. See, as a leader,
But it's hard to find.
yeah, it's hard to find. Of course, it's hard to find. But as I said, if you do not find, then you cannot build a good organization. It won't last. You'll have a lot of attrition and hiring issues, and the quality of whatever work will suffer. Right people is the key to the right organization. But without a right leader, you cannot get right people. And leader is like a magnet. If you live the very philosophy day in and day out, whatever it might be it Abdul Kalam ji who wanted to build space program, or be it Vinoba Bhave who wanted to do Antyodaya movement, or Gandhi ji for that matter who decided this country should be free for whatever reason, and his charka is there up there on the logo. Now, though we don't spin khadi anymore, but we still are inspired by the idea. See, you have to live your idea. You cannot ever compromise on that. What you believe in, you ought to believe in. When you believe in something, you'll attract right kind of people to yourself. And that once the leader lives that kind of a life which he truly believes in, he will get the right kind of people. And like Hitler also attracted all kinds of people to himself. Who could have built an army like that in those times? But Hitler believed in the idea that he wanted to conquer the world. So also Alexander the Great. Of course, their ideas were not so nice, so they didn't last. But here we are believing in goodness, believing in the idea that we are here to do good to others, and living that idea day in and day out. Not a single day we have lived without doing some good to somebody. So I think a leader must believe in his vision, never give up, never compromise, and never ever think that he has anything else to do in life. Once you have plan B's and plan C's, then plan A's never work. So you have to burn your boats and bridges. You're here for that, and you're here for that, come what may. I think that kind of conviction people have seen in our leadership, and those who also resonated with that. Not that everybody was a fully ready-made personnel who came in and walked in through the doors and became a part of the mission. No, we invested a lot of time and energy in our people. We truly cared for them. We treated them like a family. And that loyalty, even if their quality of work might have been little less or more, the loyalty and bonding made them improve themselves every day. And that saved us a lot of other headaches that come with people management. So I think now the second generation leadership team is ready. Because they were inspired. They saw the leader working this way. I think that's what a leader should do. Must believe in his or her idea, must live that idea day in, breathe, eat, live, sleep, talk, eat, whatever. Everything is that idea. Once you do that, everybody comes with you.
Amazing. Thank you. There's one question I think, I don't know if it's probably the life of, not just my own, but I think a lot of us in this room constantly go through this stress and churn, not just, for the traffic and everything else around, but in the workplace too. It's amazing amount of stress that all of us go through. And it's very, very difficult for most of us to have a sane mind at the end of it, right? But I've always seen you super calm and composed. I've never seen you even, raise your voice or anything, right? So in this fast-paced world where you are achieving and going after something as huge as you did, how did you maintain that composure and calm? And how did you maintain that balance?
I think first way you can, stress is there everywhere. You do good, you have challenges there too, but you have more challenges when you're trying to do selfless good in the world. And so stress and challenges are everywhere in life. Life has been designed like that. It's an obstacle race. It's an obstacle course race. So you have to deal with it. First, accept that. Going on resisting that, why it happened to me, why should it happen this way, why can't be another way. This resistance itself creates a tremendous amount of stress. Like even in electricity, we know resistance is the enemy of the potential whatever voltage. And so idea is that first accept situations in your life. I think it will de-stress you 50%. Once you know that today is going to be a traffic day, there is going to be jam in the road, and why would you fidget and why would you get angry? Because you know that this is how it's going to be. Nothing can be done about it. So once you accept that, you'll find more creative ways of finding solutions to that issue. But once you are not accepting it, you go on fighting against it and you waste a lot of energy and time. So I think first accepting is one thing. Second thing, I believe truly you can be living a life of less stress when you really do what you love, when you're passionate about it. I have seen scientists work day in and day out there. I'm sure it's a hard work. Or so also you have built companies. So also they run a government. It's not easy. But if they love what they do, they never feel stressed. There's hard work. They may get tired physically, sometimes even mentally exhausted, but that frustrating stress won't come to them because they love what they're doing. So love what you do, find your passion, and then believe in that and do what is. And when challenges come, do accept that these are a part of the process, and this is something that you must accept and move on. Then you don't fight and resist. You don't waste your energy. You find another creative way. I think these two things have kept us in good stead. But yes, there are times when things get very difficult and when you really don't know how to proceed, and that kind of stresses you up, not physically but mentally or emotionally. In those times, you have to look up to a higher power. So you have to believe in something which is higher than you, which runs the show. If you do that, there is some kind of a assurance that you get, you see, that yes, I have done everything, whatever best I could do in my might. Beyond this, there's nothing that I can do. I have accepted it. But nevertheless, it must be done for the good of all. And I look up to a higher power. And we believe that that divinity, that consciousness which I talked about, listens. And then things start changing because you have surrendered to that greater idea by dissolving your own ego. And that suddenly starts doing magic. So these three things, I think: love what you have got to do, or do what you have got to love, whichever way you present it. Two, accept situations in life. Don't always fight. Sometimes accept and move on. Three, if nothing can be done, look up to that higher force which governs everything and surrender to that greater force in a complete selflessness, in complete egolessness, and you will see that your stress will start disappearing.
Well said. Thank you for that. Guys, line up your questions. I'm going to ask Sadhguru the last question and then I'll open it up for questions in the room. So, the last one that I have is really looking ahead, right? What is your vision for the next decade, for your own mission, of course, and for the rest of us in the country?
We believe in these fundamental things like basics, like education should be available to all at an affordable cost. I'm not saying everybody can avail free education. The government is doing its part, philanthropists are doing their part, NGOs are doing their part. But the idea is that if any child in India or anywhere, in the remotest African village, wants to get educated or develop some skills or access some opportunities, finance cannot be the reason why such a child is denied that opportunity. Anything else I can understand, but money cannot be the reason why a child cannot or can educate itself. That democratization of education is our goal. The next thing is healthcare, because we believe that health is everybody's right, fundamental right. Though it has not been declared even by the greatest world bodies, but I believe health is a fundamental right, and it should be a part of a constitution of the government, that health has to be the right of all people. Now, of course, healthcare comes at different costs, intensities, and not everything can be given free. I understand that. But then those who just cannot afford, they should be at least given an opportunity to access healthcare. And I think governments are doing their part, but we don't have right kind of manpower sometimes, or infrastructure, or whatever the other bottlenecks are there. They all have to be sorted out. For that, society and governments have to work together, because we believe that everybody should have access to that. No, I can pay for it, or my company pays for it. Cannot be the reason why I continue to live and somebody dies next door. That cannot be the way our societies should be built. So I think these two are the fundamental pushes we are right now working towards, that everybody who needs health should have access to it. Everybody who needs education should have access to it. And very even more fundamental than that is, how can you have a child hungry at school or anywhere for that matter? Child is the fundamental unit, if I can call so, or is the most important citizen of the country or the world. How can a child, what kind of society have you built where a child who cannot afford food is never given food? So many millions, 800 million children across the world are malnourished. They don't have access to good quality water or food. Forget about education, health, that is all later. Basics are not there. Now, what are we doing with $100 trillion global GDP when there are hundreds of millions of people who do not have access to water, sanitation, food? So nutrition is another very big push, because nutrition solves many problems. Nutrition is medicine basically for this body. So when we give nutrition to everybody, which is right now we are doing through a formula, Saisho, which is ragi based and fortified with vitamins, minerals to take care of their daily needs to a great extent. Now, this solves a lot of problems like anemia, stunting, wasting, and their neuromotor skills, their attendance in school, their ability to grasp things, analyze, process things. And tomorrow, when they become grown ups, especially for women, if they're anemic, they deliver unhealthy babies, and that's an additional burden on the system. So we have found this as a very powerful intervention, and we are trying to reach out to every single person, at least to begin with, in this country, where we can intervene with some nutrition and start solving one problem at a time. But these three, I feel, education, health, and nutrition, are fundamental rights of everybody. If you can't buy it, somebody has to give it to you, and that is what we are doing. And thanks to you and your corporate and so many other people who are continuously supporting this cause through their corporate social responsibility, as individual social responsibility also you have been supporting. We wouldn't have come this far without all of you. So I wish that whatever the minister is dreaming of, this country being the biggest GCC for the world, the biggest workforce should come out of here. Yes, and should create prosperity, because if everybody is earning, why should I run an NGO? I should not have a job. That is your job. Make sure that you do enough for the society, that there is no need for NGOs to go and feed a poor person, because there is no poor person to be fed. Now, can we create such equitable societies is the idea. So we have to all work together, and until it happens, we must be at it.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to My Startup TV.